the last of the review videos. You guys should be in really good shape after this. Again, I'm hoping you saw my message that I posted the other day that said best way to practice is to go through the review packets again. If it's in the packets, you should know it. If it's not in the packets, you shouldn't know. But hopefully if you kept really good, neat notes, you'll have good reference material, and you guys should be fine. All right. But yeah, let's wrap up this little bit. I asked you guys to do certain ones in these last 2 pages of packet number 5. This page was missing originally. I did attach it on later on. But let's start with number 29. It says, the number of people who live in a small city is 15,000 at t equals 0. Write an equation that models each of the situations below. All right. The number of people decreases by 750 each year. All right. So decreases, anytime we say things are just increasing or decreasing, it's basically linear. So A is going to be a linear function, all right? And we're just going to do y equals mx plus b. So you can do y equals f of x equals, since they're saying t equals 0, I'm going to do f of t. So you say f of t equals, right? The slope is how much it's changing. It's decreasing by 750 each year. T stands for each year. And the y-intercept of 0 is 1,500. Right? And that would be your equation. Or if you wrote, I'll write it above it, f of t means we're starting with 15,000 and it's decreasing by 750 each year. Perfect. These two are exactly the same equation. All right, so I'm going to draw a line here to separate these. Okay, next one. The number of people increases by 17% each year. All right, this is a percent increase, decrease question. So I'm not going to use f of t again. This time maybe I'll use g of t. All right, what was the original number of people? Right, that's 15,000. Then you do parenthesis 1. Since it's increasing, I'm doing plus. It's increasing by 0.17 each year, 17% every 3 years. That means I'm going to put t over 3. Anytime they say the word every, it means your exponent has to be a fraction. So that would be the formula. I mean, the prettier way would be, I'll write it up here, g of t equals 15, I don't know if you could say it, 15,000, 1.17 t over 3. I mean, that would be the prettiest way to write the final answer for B. I'll put B here. All right, the number of people decreases continuously. You guys see the word continuous or continuously? This is a PERT question, right? So we're using PERT. I'm going to say h of t just to change it up. All right, so PERT. P stands for the original amount. So I'm going to write 15,000. E. R is the rate. Now, this is important. It's decreasing by 12%. That means your rate is negative 0.12 t. And that would be the equation. So decreases continuously means your exponent needs to be negative. If that had said increasing, your exponent would need to be positive. Right? And again, this is PERT. I'll write that in the corner. The number of people grows at a continuous rate. All right, continuous, guys, means it's another PERT question. So let's do C of t. Okay, the number of people still was 15,000. E, but this time it said it grows. That means it's increasing. So that means our decimal, 0.04, the decimal, that's the percent, would be positive t. All right. So I really like 29 a lot because in 29 I was able to review like a linear, a percent increase, decrease, and 2 different subtleties of PERT. That's why I picked this question. All right, number 30. If d equals 400 e raised to the 0.07t, if that represents the number of ducks, how long would it take for the number of ducks to triple? All right, well, what was the original number of ducks? And you should be able to tell that from the equation. And the original number is always the number out in front, which is 400. So that means I'm going to do 400 e to the 0.07t. And if I want to triple 400, you want to set that equal to 1200. So that's how we'd start that. So now I want to solve this. Now please keep in mind, your test is going to say no calculator on it. That means your answers should never be in decimal form because you're supposed to be pretending you don't have a calculator. So we're going to divide by 400. Okay. So that makes e to the 0.07t equals 3. Now I'm going to use logs here. I'm going to log it. Because it's e, I'm going to use the natural log, right? 3 equals 0.07t. Okay. And I'm going to divide by 0.07. Okay, so now I want to talk about this. So right now, I have the natural log of 3 over 0.07 equals t. Now that's not the prettiest answer. Your fractions can never have decimals in it. So we're going to talk about how to fix that. So if I give you the natural log of 3, what place value is that 7 in? That 7's in the hundredths place. That means your denominator is really 7 over 100. So that means I can flip this. Natural log of 3 times 100 over 7. So that means the prettiest answer you could give me is 100 natural log of 3 over 7. So that would be acceptable. Or if you wanted to write it 100 over 7 natural log of 3, that's fine too. But do not leave decimals inside fractions, guys. Decimals means you really have a fraction, which means it needs to be cleaned up. All right, so that was the answer. So this was the answer to 30. All right, 31. And again, I have a really nicely done out answer key to this whole packet. So if you want to practice even more questions, everything's really neat. So you guys should be able to follow it. All right, number 31. I don't think I asked you guys actually to do 30, but it's a good one to practice. 31. If 5,000.87t, find the continuous growth rate. All right, first off, is this guy an increasing or decreasing function? Okay, this is going to be decreasing, right, because the 0.87 is less than 1. So we want to find the continuous growth rate. So basically what we want to do is you set 5,000.87t would be equal to 5,000 e to the t, because we want to figure out what that is. Our e to the rt. Let's take that back. Got the rt. So what do both sides have in common, right? They both have the 5,000, so that would cancel, right? And they both have a t. So we basically have left over 0.87, right? Actually, this I didn't have an r, so I'll put that back. Equals e to the r. So now I just got to log this. This would be log 0.87, that's not 7, natural log 0.87 equals r. And that would be the answer to the question. That's good enough for me. Perfect. And if you put that in your calculator, if you want to check, it will be a negative number. Like I'm going to show you this one second. So if I put in the natural log 0.87, see it's negative. Oops. See how it's negative? So that goes along with the fact that it's a decreasing function. So you can use that as a check if you want. All right, convert this guy into rectangular. All right. Notice I give you a number and a degree. This is when we bring in trig. And when you do trig, the x value is always cosine, the y value is always sine. So we're going to do r cos theta, r sine theta. And the first thing is r, and the second thing is theta. So I'm going to do 4 cos. Now, 2 pi over 3. So let's do a little review here. Pi over 3, right, would be the same thing as saying 180 divided by 3, which is 60. So pi over 3 is 60. So 2 times 60 is 120. And then we're going to do 4 sine 120. And I need to get these answers. Now, once again, decimals will be incorrect, because that means I know you used the calculator. So cos, so we have to find out cos 120. So 120 pulls me to here. Right? Drawing your triangle. That means my reference angle is 60. That means this guy's 30. Across from 30 is a half. Across from 60 is radical 3 over 2. All right, so I need to know now, this is going to be 4 times cosine of 120. Cosine would be whatever's on the x-axis. And in this quadrant, cosine is negative. So it's going to be 4 times negative a half. And then 4 times sine of 120. Sine is this guy. And in this quadrant, sine is positive. So that leaves me with the point negative 2 to radical 3. And that's the answer for number 32. All right, 33. If m of t represents the number of muskrats living in a swampy area where t is months since they moved into the swamp, interpret the meaning of M6. All right, now guys, I want you to write a sentence. So let's see here. So t is months, so that means 6 months. All right, so this would equal, so if we did the math out and got an answer, this would be the number of muskrats living in the swamp, living in the swamp, 6 months after moving in. Okay, so these, if I'm just saying interpret, you need to write sentences, right? The solution to this. Now, I don't know the solution, right? There's no equation. So a lot of you guys for these like have no clue. You didn't give us an equation. Well, I wasn't asking you to solve. I'm asking you to interpret. What does this mean, right? What would T tell you in this scenario? Well, T represents the number of months, right, after moving in when there would be $92 muskrats in the swamp. So sometimes, guys, I don't actually want math. I want to know, what does the math mean to you? So if you're looking at something and you're like, there isn't an equation, what does she want us to do? And you see the word interpret or state, it means I want a sentence, meaning, what is this telling us? Okay. 34, trig equations. You guys cannot avoid trig equations on this final. I don't know if you've noticed, I think there's been a trig equation in every packet. So here we go. The first one is 2 sine squared minus 3 sine x plus 1 equals 0. All right, now everything on your final was written to do without a calculator, which means everything can be factorable. Now, this does factor into 2 sine x minus 1, so make sure you show all the work. And this would be sine x minus 1. Okay, so I'm going to factor it. Then I'm going to set each piece equal to 0, so I end up with sine x equals half, sine x equals 1. Now, got to find all these answers. This is the easiest one to do. Think of the unit circle. If you get 0, 1, or negative 1, think of the unit circle. where on the unit circle is sine equal to 1? And sine's equal to 1 at 90 degrees. Now we're going to do this guy, sine x equals a half. Now I'm hoping 30 degrees pops in your head, but if not, right, if you go to mode, make sure it's in degree mode. But do shift sign and put in 0.5. Never put the negative in your calculator, right? The negatives only go in your calculator when you're doing arc sine or inverse sine. In trig equations, you always put positive in, so it's 30 degrees. Now, how many quadrants is sine positive in? Here and here. So that means from here to here would be 30 degrees. Sine is also positive a half here, which would be 150 degrees. Okay, so there's 3 answers to this. But notice the bounds are in radians, so that means we have to convert this into pi over 2. 30 degrees is pi over 6. And 150 is 5 times pi over 6. There you go. So those are the 3 answers I would need for that one. All right, number 35. Now, 35, there's a red flag here. Boom. Double angle formula. If you see a 2 in front of the x, even if they are the same trig function, you cannot do this question with the 2x in it. So I'm going to bring this side down, but I have to go to my formula sheet and use the double angle formula for sine and replace it. So anytime you see a 2 in front of the x, if it's sine, if it's cosine, I don't care how nice it is because they're both sines, you got to change that puppy up. Okay, now I'm going to set this guy equal to 0, so I'm going to subtract that over. So 0 equals 2 cos x minus sine x. And now what do both of these pieces have in common? They both have a sine. So I'm going to factor it out. I'm going to set each piece equal to 0. So I've got sine x equals 0, and then I'm going to do 2 cos x minus 1 equals 0. And that'll end up being cos x equals 1/2. Great. Okay. So now, let's see here. I am going to think of a unit circle. Where on the unit circle is sine equal to 0? It actually happens in 2 different places. It happens at 0 degrees and 180 degrees. Okay, so there's 2 answers for this one. Now, when is cosine equal to 1/2? So we're going to do shift cos 0.5. We get 60 degrees. Now, how many quadrants is cosine positive in? Well, definitely in quadrant 1, but also in quadrant 4. So that means, this was an x, right? X would be 60 degrees, as well as, all the way to here, 300 degrees. Okay. Now, again, go back to the directions for these two. It needs to be in radian form. So that means x is going to be 0 and pi. That's 2, right? And then we're also going to have, when is 60 degrees? That's pi over 3. Right? And this would be 6 times what makes 35? This would be 5 pi. All right. And that was number 35. Then I asked you guys to jump to 39 and 40. All right, now these two, all of these aren't just garbage. They're worth practicing. I just kind of wanted to hit some big ones here at the end without taking up days of your time. Again, I'm going to post the answer key to this packet done out. I try to make no mistakes and make it super neat. If you guys see any issues, please let me know. But I think I did a nice job on it. So here we go. 39. Evaluate exactly cotangent and tan to the -1 of -2/3. Now, this one's actually pretty easy. Here's the deal. the regular trig is on the outside. If the regular trig is on the outside, that means you can just cancel things off if we can. What's special about cotangent and tangent? What are they to each other? Right? They're reciprocals of each other. So that means all we have to do is take the reciprocal of this guy, and we're all set, because they cancel each other out but flip each other over. All right, next one. Sine negative 5 pi over 6. Okay, so first off, let's start off with 5 pi over 6. Okay, pi over 6 is 30 degrees. So that means I'm talking about negative 150. So this question's asking, evaluate sine negative 150 degrees. So if I graph negative 150, put me to here, right? Draw my triangle. This is 150, that means this is 30. This would be 60. Side across from 30 is a half. Side across from 60 is radical 3 over 2. Okay, sine is always the vertical one, and AST, we're in the T quadrant. So that means this answer has to be negative 1/2. Now something I do want to point out to you guys, evaluate exactly means if you give me a decimal, game over. Evaluate exactly means absolutely no decimals. Now to say this for a millionth time, this test was written so you didn't need a calculator. So you really shouldn't be giving me any decimals at all. Next one, secant, and that's 90, right? All right, so 90 degrees is a unit circle point. So here's 90, right? And that is the point 0.01. Now, who is secant the reciprocal of, right? Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So what would cosine at 90 be? Well, cosine at 90 is 0. How do you write 0 as a fraction? Okay, that would be 0 over 1. So the reciprocal of that would be 1 over 0. So the answer to that would be undefined. So undefined is the answer to letter C. And finally, number 39. Now, let's talk about A and B. In A, notice the regular trig was on the outside. There's no restrictions on regular trig, which is why these can just cancel, right? And in this case, it couldn't just cancel, it needed to be flipped because they're reciprocals. Now, let's look at this guy. The inverse trig is on the outside. That means you cannot just cancel these because there's bigger restrictions on him. So we actually need to do this math out. All right, so I'm going to go to my scrap paper. So I'm going to start off with the interior, cosine, 4 pi over 3. So I'm going to do this work first. Okay, pi over 3 is 60 degrees. So this question is asking about cosine of 240 degrees. Okay, so 240 puts me to here. And the reference angle is 60. Now, notice that reference angle is 60. What's right there? Coincidence? No. All right, that should always be the same. All right, that means this is 30. This is a half. This is radical 3 over 2. Now, cosine. Cosine is whatever's on the x-axis. And in the third quadrant, it's going to be negative. So what I have now is I have close to the negative 1, and that becomes negative 1/2 in there. Okay, now I got to keep going. Now I want inverse cos, negative 1/2. What are the special restrictions on inverse cos? Inverse cos is 0 to 180. So this is out and this is out. Now you should have these on your formula sheet. Inverse cos can only be 0 to 180. The fact that it's negative means that's out. So now, that means, I'm going to show you another way. Again, you're going to have calculators. but this is the correct way to do it. The 1/2 means now we're still going to use the 60 degrees. Cosine is a half at 60 degrees. So you guys are going to draw 60 degrees in there. So that means from here to here is 120. Now, because you will have calculators, once you get down to what I call a one-stepper, your calculators are built for this type of question. So if you do second cos and you put in -0.5, 120 will pop up, which is the answer. But I need the answer in radians, right? So radians, it would be 2 pi over 3. And that's the answer to D. In my opinion, the thing you guys are going to be worst at is the inverse trig. Everybody's always really bad at inverse trig. You guys were bad at it when I taught it. And no matter what year it is, whether there's a shutdown or not, inverse trig's always, in my opinion, the trickiest part. And finally now, number 40, we have a log equation. So let's do this. Solve for x. In the land of the logs, right, subtraction is division. So you're going to write the natural log of 3x plus 1 over x equals 2. Right. Then we're going to bend this. What base does the natural log have? Well, it has an e, right? This becomes e squared equals 3x plus 1 over x. It's over 1 and cross multiply. So let me bring it up here. So it becomes x e squared equals 3x plus 1. Now, we are solving for x, which means I need to get all the x's together. So I get x e squared minus 3x equals 1. Now I did that on purpose because now I can factor out an x, right? And then divide by that, right? And that would be the answer to the question. And there you have it, guys. I kind of went through the roughest ones. I am going to put a detailed answer key to this up along with this video. Best way to study, have really neat answer sheets and go through your tests. I do not think it's going to be a big deal. You guys kind of have a major advantage. You're taking it at home. You have 90 minutes instead of 45. The first day is mostly multiple choice or matching. So the first day I don't think is the tougher. The second day we actually have to show work. Typically it's the part people don't like the best. But day 1 is mostly matching and multiple choice. Day 2 is a lot of show your work. Just remember not to give decimals. You can use your calculators to check things. I can't see what you're doing. But remember, the answers you give me on your paper should be in this format. Right? No decimals. And there you have it. So enjoy. Good luck. I know you guys are going to do great. I got stuff all over my desk.